Okay, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Finally, managed to get this thing up and running. Can everyone hear me? Is anyone there? Am I just speaking to myself or to the infinite nothingness of YouTube? Can anyone hear me? Yusuf? Okay, so we're going to start, inshallah. So, very first thing, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi ajma'in. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very have to say is that this is not a Friday khutbah. It's going to be 4 rak'ahs. If you can do it in jama'ah with your family, then that's better. But bottom line is that this is just a reminder. It's just a talk. It is not a khutbah or a replacement for a khutbah. The khutbah of jama'ah. It is not a replacement for that. So that's the very first thing, inshallah. During these times, lots of things are being spread, lots of information, lots of misinformation. And it's incumbent upon us to, or hypothesize, however the plural of that is, that we'll never be able to prove either to be false or true, not as individuals anyway. And when it comes to associations or groups, there's always going to be doubt as to whether they're this or they're that. So some things we'll just never know. So some things we can discern, some things we cannot discern. And then there's a category of things that it's like, who cares? Who cares whether this is true? Who cares whether this is false? And then there's another category, which is, I care, but what can I do about it? So let me do what's in what I can control in my hands, and take it from there. And this is very, very important because in Islam, a believer is, when a believer gets news, they should be able to discern it, and they should at least be able to think before they act and before they spread what it is that they're hearing. This is very, very important. And especially at times where there's so much fear and there is so much to you with news, then you have to check it first, check it out first. You have to check it out first before spreading it, before acting upon it. Now, in these times where fear is so prevalent, the more that the emotions rise, the more that the logic falls. This is just the way that we are as human beings. The more the emotions rise, the more the logic falls. The more the emotions rise, the more, the less we're able to think clearly and to make rational decisions. Again, something to bear in mind when we're spreading things or when we're listening to things. Is this emotional or is this rational? And we have that in mind. Now, a lot of people are saying that this pandemic, this COVID-19, corona, whatever you want to call it, that this form of plague, right, is a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is actually no proof for this. There's actually no proof for this, and that this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, it's out of his anger and it's out of his wrath, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kind of punishing us with this type of thing. And like I said, there's absolutely no proof for this. And not only that, but in terms of aqidah and in terms of other things, we should be very, very careful before we make a statement or an assertion like that. And the reason for that is that we do not know. We do this, whether it's a mercy or whether it's a punishment, whether it's to achieve good or whether it's to show people the wrong that they're doing. And furthermore, it could be for both purposes. It could be as a form of punishment for some people and as a form of mercy for another. And if I just check my notes here very quickly, in one of the plagues before, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, he stood up and he says, people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a mercy for you. This is a mercy for you. And if we really begin to think about it from that perspective, and this falls completely and utterly in line with what the Prophet ﷺ, he said when it comes to patience and when it comes to being grateful, he said that nothing can happen to a believer. Nothing can happen to a believer except that is good. If he is, if it's something that harms him and he is patient, and this is good for him because it wipes and erases his sins, and it reconnects him with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it is, if it brings him benefit and he is grateful and thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it is good as well. So obviously there's nothing, there's no situation or no circumstance that's 100% disadvantageous for everyone. And there's no situation that is 100% advantageous for anyone. And so something like Corona has advantages and it has disadvantages, definitely. The advantages we are to be grateful for, we are to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. Advantages such as time, advantages such as being able to connect with family, advantages such as being able to remember Allah, having access to things to read, to learn, and time to do so. And it has disadvantages, of that are elderly and that we can't meet or we can't take care of or that we're worried about. There are other disadvantages. So for the advantages, the believer is to be grateful and to be thankful, and this is good for him. And for the disadvantages or the pains or the harms, then the believer is to be patient, and this is good for him. And so in terms of our aqeedah, we do not know. We do not know if this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent to smite out of his wrath or punishment. We don't know if this is a mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent. But as believers, we believe that whatever happens to us is good, and whatever is written is khair ultimately. And so this is just a point of aqeedah, very, very important. There's a lot of videos going around saying, you need to be depressed, etc. This is Allah's wrath befalling us, etc. It may not be. Which brings me on to another point. People are saying, I want an Islamic burial, for example, or they're saying, I want to pray in the mosque, or I want to do this, I want to do that, and that's all good and well. That's all good and well. But what we have to understand is that, as an example, an Islamic burial is what Islam defines to be an Islamic burial. It is not what I feel is an Islamic burial. It's not what I have been used to. It's not the habitual. It's not the cultural. It is what Islam defines as a Islamic burial. So if there comes a time, and it is now, that Islam defines an Islamic burial to be where there is no ghusl, right, then that is what an Islamic burial is. Okay. If you're not used to that shape or form of that Islamic burial, that's a different story. That's a different story. That has nothing to do with whether it's Islamic or non-Islamic, right? That's just your culture, and that's just what you're used to. Islam, in terms of the burial and in terms of everything, is always to protect, first of all, religion and then life. Okay, and when it comes to protecting life, always the more life you can protect, the better. Just like with money, the more money you can protect or accumulate, the better within the hudud of Islam and halal and haram. So, we want to dignify the deceased, and we dignify it in the way that Islam has written. And if there comes a time or a circumstance where the rulings differ, like now, then this is how we dignify the Muslim, and this is how we dignify the believer. Also, for those people that die in a plague, or for those people that die in a time like this, because of this, or because of cancer, or because of burning, or because of drowning, etc., yes, they die as a shuhada, as a shaheed. But what we have to realize is that in fiqh, there are two types of shaheed. There are two types of shaheed. There is shaheed al-dunya and there is shaheed of the akhirah. There's shaheed al-dunya and shaheed al-akhirah. Shaheed al-dunya is someone who dies in battle, right? A martyr, like someone who dies in battle, a warrior, for example, or someone that speaks truth to tyranny, knowing that he will be killed. This is someone that is shaheed in dunya. He dies and he is treated as a shaheed in dunya. And then there's someone who is shaheed al-akhirah, And Shaheed al-Akhirah is someone, for example, that dies of a stomach pain, or that dies of burning, or that dies of drowning, and they are a believer. They die as a normal believer, but they are resurrected in the hereafter with the reward of a martyr. And the rewards of martyrs differ anyway. So that's just something to bear in mind. It's something to bear in mind. Now, obviously, dying as a martyr is still a big deal, right? Regardless, dunya or akhirah is still a big deal. Whichever classification is still a big deal. So we take this into account, and we, whilst we mourn and we feel the loss of those whom we love, at the same time, it is a mercy. At the same time, it is a mercy. When the time of death comes, that is the time written for that person. Which brings me on to my next point. A lot of people are taking actions. I'm going to wash my hands so that I don't die, or so that I don't kill someone. I'm going to keep this social distancing. I'm going to wear a mask. Right. The thing is, it's all about death. Everything's related to death, right? And this is incorrect. Because you cannot control death. You can take every precaution under the sun, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, even if you were to lock yourself up in fortified castles, death will still come for you, right? So when we take these actions, we do not take them in order to fortify ourselves against death. We don't take them in order to safeguard ourselves from death. We're taking those actions because they are the right actions to do. They're the right actions to do. There's no other reason. Okay, so when I wash my hands, when I keep my social distancing, etc., it's not to safeguard life. Yeah, I mean that's the ultimate benefit for society or for the ruling itself. But for me as a human being, I'm not going to stop myself from dying. I'm not going to live 1 minute more than it was written for me to live, and I'm not going to die 1 minute earlier than what was written for me beforehand, predestined. This is not going to change. That we do, because it's very important. Because if we take every single action with the intention of, I might die, or I might kill someone, then this can be very this can lead to worry and anxiety and things that depression, whether light or serious, it doesn't matter. But this is not the way that we should be going. So when we take these actions, we take them because they are the right thing to do. They are the right thing to do. So this is very important. We're not going to stop death, or we're not going to accelerate death. It's just the right thing to do. This is our aqidah. Now, there's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said that there is no spread of disease. There is no spread of disease, meaning that if I'm ill and someone else next to me is ill, I can't pass the disease to him. This is the literal meaning of the hadith. Now, there's another hadith that says no, that disease can be spread. So it seems like there's a contradiction between these two hadith, and this is wrong. The contradiction is superficial. It's just it's that people don't understand what it means. And what the Prophet ﷺ meant by that, or means when he says that there is no, you're unable to pass on the disease to others, is that the disease in and of itself, is not contagious. The disease in and of itself does not do anything. Like fire, it picks something up and I drop it. It is not gravity that makes it drop. We call the recurrence gravity. Yeah, but every single time it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will that makes it drop. And the contagion, or a virus being contagious from one person to another, it is not the virus itself that has power, but it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will that is bestowing it or endowing it with this from moment to moment. And so, regardless, there are some people who will not get ill, and there are some people who will be ill. And this is just to fortify the point that what we're doing for the sake of, this is the hukm, this is the halal, and this is the haram, and that is it. We will not prolong our life, and we will not shorten it. And this is an understanding within our aqidah that's very, very clear. Whether you die at times of corona, or whether you die at times of due to a shortage of food, or whether you die because of an electric shock, or you're crossing the street and someone knocks you over, at the end of the day, the thing that kills us is death. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given death that power. So it really doesn't matter what shape, what cloak death wears, what guise it comes in. At the end of the day, death is death. And this is a time to remember that and to remind our family of that as well. So, you know, this is a time where, you know, some people are choosing to worry, and this is a time where some people are choosing to chill and to relax. It's a time where some people are choosing to fret and to make stupid decisions, and it is a time where other people are taking things in their stride and reading Quran and doing other things. In times of isolation, really, 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 sometimes the nafs, the self, the inner self, begins to just squawk, and you know, it's like there's a siren that's continuously on, and it's the nafs saying, "I have nothing to do. Entertain me, entertain me, entertain me." And you know, you're sitting in a cave for a long, long time. There comes a point where you really get to know yourself, and you get to hear your own thoughts. Or when you're in a desert that's silent and you're walking through it, or in the middle of nature or anything like that, there comes a time where you begin to really see what's going on in the inside, really hear it, really feel it. And this is, I think, it's a blessing. I think it's a blessing. That constant, you know, bang, bang, bang of society. It's a blessing now that we have a little bit of a break from this. So take this break. There's no need, for example, to have Netflix on all the time. This is a time where we can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where we can do dhikr. What is wrong with saying subhanallah 10,000, 100,000 times? What's wrong? And when someone says, I'm bored, I have nothing to do, this is simply a reflection of their inability to realize the prime opportunities available to them now. Simply a time for them to realize these prime opportunities. So, you know, we complain that we don't have enough time to spend with our children, or that our children, you know, they're learning things in school that we're not happy about, or from bad friends, or they're not learning Quran, or they're not learning Hadith, etc., etc. There are so many resources now. I mean, we can even pay charity without leaving the seat that we're sitting on. Yeah. So there are ways. There are ways. And my final message is gratitude, real gratitude, real gratitude. And this is a test for gratitude as to whether or not you're grateful, whether I'm grateful. From a moment to moment perspective, this is a real test. The test for gratitude is as follows. Are you able to make the most out of where you're right now? Are you able to make the most out of the now? Because if you're grateful, it means that you will acknowledge the good in the now. And when you acknowledge the good of the now, you become more and more resourceful. Whereas if we're ungrateful and we are either reminiscing or longing for a past that we also used to complain about, right? Oh, we don't like the way things are, and now that things have changed. Oh, we don't like the way things are. But this is just a clear sign of being of a lack of gratitude. So the more grateful we are for what we have, the more we can say Alhamdulillah for what it is and for what exists, the more we can depend upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And tawakkul is the ability to just, you know, lean, you know, just, you know, right now, as I sit on this chair, I have tawakkul that it's not going to fall. You know, as the chair, I put the chair on the floor, I have tawakkul that the floor is not going to swallow me and I'm not going to fall through it, right? So this, you know, the gratitude and tawakkul, they come together at the end of the day. I'm grateful because I can rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those of us who thought that our security came from the NHS, look what's happening to the NHS now. People are donating to the NHS. Just let that settle. People are donating to the NHS. You're donating to them. It's not a charity, right? People are donating to the NHS. So those that thought the NHS was there to safeguard our health, it is not. Those that thought that supermarkets are where we bring our rizq and our wealth and our food, they are not. Those that thought that jobs are what provide our wealth, they are not. Those that think that Corona is what brings death, it is not. Ultimately, everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more grateful you'll be, the more resourceful and the more able you'll be to deal with things as they are. With things as they are. Allah barak fiqh, Alauddin. I will wrap up now. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make these times easy, and may He, and in terms of dhikr, or in terms of remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, brothers and sisters, even if you're not saying subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, but that feeling inside that feeling inside of relying upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and of being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the feeling that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for you good. This is very important. Why is Allah doing this to us? These are stupid questions. These are stupid questions, because even if you knew the answer to that, you would not be able to truly comprehend it, right? No one will. I mean, this is Allah we're talking about, infinite. So how can something infinite be understood by something finite? So this a reminder to myself, firstly, and to others: think well of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be grateful, do dhikr, take opportunity after opportunity after opportunity that presents itself, and don't just binge watch Netflix or other things. Take this as a time really to just meditate and to rebalance and to reestablish harmony with yourself and with your families, inshallah. I was going to say something else about doctors, etc., but this is 21 minutes now, 22 minutes. I only meant this to be 15 minutes. So أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. جزاكم الله خيرا. Maybe next week I'll do the same thing. Please remember me in your du'as, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate you all and remove the fights and the difficulties in your path. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us that the gratitude and the knowing and the settledness of relying upon Him and relying upon His actions for us and His decisions for us. قل قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.